So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the British concerns over the lower food standards in the CPTPP trading bloc. So we did speak previously about how Australia, in another video, has hormone injected beef, hormone injected beef and estrogen and other chemicals injected into cows. And obviously, people in Britain, we don't do that around here. And so, could Britain be pressured into having lower food standards in order to join the CTPPP? There are so many P's in that acronym. So let's get into the video. So the NFU, which is the National Farmers Union, so I believe the NFU told farmers to vote to remain in the EU, and the farmers were like, nah, bro. Like, we can have the EU market and we can have more markets. Yeah, more markets, more money, more meat, more cows, and more profits. Yeah, I did that in the wrong order, but you see what I'm saying. So, the NFU has told a House of Lords committee that the UK must maintain welfare and environmental standards in its attempt to join the Trans-Pacific Trading Bloc. That's the CPTPP. The UK has formally applied to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. Better naming, guys. A group consisting of 11 countries, including Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So I don't know if Canada have lower food standards than us, but New Zealand don't. They have high food standards, and Australia have lower food standards than us. The CPTPP accounts for 13% of the 13% of world GDP, worth a total of $10.6 trillion, and it making it the third largest trading area in the world. Can you guess which trading area is higher than the CPTPP? Yeah, it's the EU. It's at 18 trillion. I don't know if that includes the UK or not, but I can't imagine would be that much. It would cut like a ton off. It won't cut like $8 trillion. So we're going to join a lesser trade group with lower standards than ours, which isn't even as good as the trading bloc we had, whilst also being further away, which makes trading more difficult. Figure that one out, guys. The UK farm leaders have warned that existing group members do not have the same high rules on standards and welfare as those enforced in the UK. And I think in Brexit they'll talk, during the referendum they're like, "Oh, we're not going to lower food standards. We'll make them better." Yeah, like what? Many are now pressing the British government to ensure that the farming industry will be protected from lower standard imports, because when it comes to this stuff, you have a couple different options. One, you keep your food standards high and you make sure that the food that we import into the UK, that stays on the same level as us. Okay, that's the best option. Your second option, which is you import lower food standards from abroad, but you keep our own internal food standards high, which puts farmers in Britain at a competitive disadvantage, whilst also importing, foods that aren't that great for you. On your third option, which is the worst option of the lot of them, which is you get farmers in this country to lower food standards, and because they want to compete with foreign imports, a lot of them will be forced to lower food standards, which means that we get that great testosterone and estrogen infused beef that everyone in this country wanted when they voted for Brexit in 2016. So the NFU believes that any trade deal which includes joining the CPTPP should ensure that British farmers can continue to produce to the current high standard. Our farmers are proud of the food we produce and should not be undermined by imports produced to standards that would be illegal here, because that puts them at a massive competitive disadvantage. We are confident that if the UK are allowed to compete on fair terms, we can lead the way when it comes to sustainable, high welfare, climate-friendly farming. We kept moaning about the EU though. Some of these countries are very competitive, major agriculture exporting countries. I think like America definitely would be one. So there is a concern that the cumulative impact could result in increased market access being given away by the UK for our sensitive agricultural products, because from what I've read, the way the CPTPP works is that it's kind of like the WTO, where you schedule tariffs and you have a scheduling system in place. And so, other countries could go against us in that respect, or try and force our standards down, or force lower tariffs on their products. And that would impact British farmers, because at the end of the day, their British farmers still have to compete with the EU. They still have to compete. There's no import checks now, but there will be, and we'll have to compete with not just the EU, but also CPTPP members as well. Even if they have high standards, which, still takes a chunk out of the British farming industry. The union has said that only 9% of UK's agricultural exports went to CPTPP members, which is ridiculously low. So there is an opportunity to grow exports of high quality UK produce. But the thing is, when you start exporting to these countries, yeah, you might cut percentage off the tariff, but this meat will still be more expensive than the meats that they have natively, and it will be frozen as well. It will be frozen, so you're going to struggle to compete off the jump. The people who would be interested in this stuff would be people who want, good quality beef that hasn't had injections. So if the UK does go to a lower standard, it will affect exports. Because why would you want to get UK, hypothetically UK infused hormone beef when you can buy that from Australia, which is cheaper and fresh, or frozen, whatever your preference is. Food safety was a key consumer concern for many CPTPP members, and especially Southeast Asian countries, the NFU have said. So there's potential there, but countries like South Korea are very, very far away from us. The UK could demonstrate safe, traceable, and audited food supply chains, meaning brand Britain should have great potential. That's true, but how much are these countries actually, how much do these countries actually want, British produced beef that's more expensive than the beef they get at home? The UK could mention that, but the NFU stressed that UK farmers must not face unfair competition from low standard food imports as a result of CPTPP membership. But the thing is, we would never have been in this situation were it not for Brexit and, in part the farmers who supported Brexit. So, the NFU I don't think did, but, the NFU's responsibility is to protect farmers as best it can. But, are you going to drill it into the heads of these farmers that they voted against their best interests? Are you going to tell them that? Ever since the UK voted to leave the EU, farming groups have warned about the threat from lower standard food imports unless rules were enforced on them. Mark Williams, the chief executive of British Egg Industry Council, which, sounds ridiculous. We have an egg industry, but I suppose it makes sense given how many eggs the UK consumes, said he would be pressing the government to ensure that the egg industry was protected. He has previously said a significant percentage of the cost of producing eggs in the UK comes from legislation on food safety, animal welfare, and environmental protection. So he's saying that, look, it costs a lot of money to produce, eggs here in the UK, and that if you start allowing, lower cost imports, I think he's saying that it does put them at a massive disadvantage because a lot of the cost, or a significant percentage of the cost, comes from us having high standards. So when you start importing foods from countries that have a lower standard, it puts British producers at a massive disadvantage. Mr. Williams has warned that pursuing a free trade policy with countries with lower standards will result in British farmers being significantly undercut. The government has insisted that it will defend food standards in negotiations with other countries, although it refused to put such protections in law, just like they refused to put protections in place for the NHS from, vultures in America. So what that tells you is the UK will sell the farm. They will literally sell out farmers in order to get a deal with the CPTPP and other countries. They will do this. No doubt they will do this if the opportunity is there. So farmers, well done. You voted for Brexit, and some of you guys no doubt voted for Tories. How do you feel? And we go to the big expert on Twitter and around, which is Dr. Anna Jowazeska, which said that this is more than just if you don't buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it, because there will be people, especially as we come out of this pandemic, people who are very poor, who have to buy, who will end up buying, these cheaper cuts of beef and, chicken or whatever, because they're desperate. They don't have the money to spend on better quality produce. If you can save a couple quid, if you're incredibly poor, or even if you're relatively poor, and you can save a couple of quid buying, these meats and stuff, you probably won't think twice about it, because at the end of the day, putting food on the table is more important than, not being able to do that, having to eat less because you can't afford it. So farmers will be massively undercut by this. And it's just ridiculous that this is happening, that if the government doesn't put into law that these protections exist, and that, whatever trade deals we sign with other countries, because no doubt, the stumbling blocks with certain countries like Australia will be this stuff here. They do want to increase beef exports. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to increase exports? That's how you make more money. So, that could be one of the stumbling blocks with a deal with Australia. But, this just, I don't know, people, do you feel sympathy for the people who supported Brexit against their best interests and have now been sold out? Or do you think, you just tell them, you were dumb. You were dumb to believe these people in the first place. You know, you didn't have it great, but you had it okay, and now you're going to have it worse. How'd you feel? But yeah, I don't know. Part of me feels sympathy, part of me feels like thanks for getting us into this mess, and enjoy a couple years of pain because that's what you voted for. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.